Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the collective consciousness reading for the month of July. Guys, I need a good month. That's all I can say. So I'm excited to see what comes out. So, guys, you know what I'm about to say. Please like this video if it resonates with you. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to my channel. That would be wonderful. The more it grows, the more videos I can put out. I am starting to feel better and better each week, each day. For anybody that knows that I'm going through some health issues, so which is why I haven't been on camera, but it's getting there. But guys, please, subscribe, especially if you're watching these videos. Hit that subscribe button, and the more viewers we have and the more this channel can grow, the more videos I can put out. So, okay, and then I have my links in the description box. So if you want either a private one-on-one reading, or I opened my Etsy shop, I'm kind of soft launching that. You can do audio readings over there, okay? All right, guys, I think that's it for now. I'm using the same 4 cards, 4 decks over here on the right. I think you can see it on the camera just slightly. Same spread, I'm not changing anything, and that's it. Let's just jump right into it, guys. Let's see what we got going on for the month. All right, guys, what do we need? Clairaudience. Clairaudience, we have Archangel Zadkiel coming through. Oh gosh, everything is... There we go, nice and slippery. I still haven't decided if I wanted to put down a tablecloth. Maybe next time I'll do that, because these guys are slipping and sliding all over the place. Okay, so we have notice the loving guidance you hear inside your mind or from other people. Love that this month is starting out with a clair gift, right? An intuitive gift of clairaudience. This is of hearing. So this is telling me that we really need to hear more. We need to be better listeners. That's what's kind of coming through here. So yeah, we could be talking about our intuitive gift of clairaudient. Sometimes that comes through with, hearing our name, I don't know if you guys ever heard like your name being called and there's nobody there, that kind of thing. That's kind of like an intuitive type gift. Or you hear through communication, you hear your intuitive downloads, you hear your epiphanies, intuitive guidance, that kind of thing. So definitely be paying attention to what you hear, whether that's, like I said, more of an internal intuition gift, or kind of on the outside, being more of an active listener this month. Okay, so this tells me that, and I'm very curious now to see what comes up down here in this corner with our relationships, with friends, with romantic connection. But it feels like, because it's under need, it feels like people really need us to listen to them. So guys, have open ears this month and take that how it resonates, okay? All right, what's action needed? So we will have to take action on something. Okay, so we have the thinker, which is, and we have the 44, which really stands out. More angelic energy. So I love that we have a lot of angels and angelic energy coming through as far as our guides go. So that's really great. I definitely need it. I could definitely say that angels are one of my guides that really come through very, very strongly. And it seems like that's, if it's not really something that resonates with you as far as like your guides go, I definitely do feel like your angels will be stepping up in July. So just wanted to throw it out there, because usually some of this energy up here at the top is usually some strong energy. So I wanted to just make that clear. But as far as like the thinker goes, so action needed. So this is about thinking things through. So this is really interesting the way that this is starting out. It's talking about like our senses, right? We need to be good active listeners. We need to really think before we put action into something. We really need to mull things over. So this is really about making sure that we're good communicators. And we're really going to need that for this month. Like I said, it's coming through pretty strongly. For whatever reason, we'll do the rest of the reading, obviously, and see if we get any more clarity around that. But I definitely do feel like you need to be better at communicating with others, and not rushing to decisions. So I definitely do feel like there's this component of being present and not rushing so much. So if you guys feel like in June you guys were rushing a lot or making kind of impulsive decisions, this is definitely not the month for that, and it's definitely going to slow down in that way. So thinking before you take action is going to be really important. If you guys come across a big decision in July, for some of you guys, it kind of feels that way. You're definitely not going to want to make like a very hasty or impulsive type decision. So definitely the thinker is about, okay, you need to think before you take action, okay? Okay, issue, snake, shed old skin. Okay, so this is about, sometimes it comes through as I remember a while back in one of our readings, we had like kind of like this snake energy of betrayal. You know, sometimes it's going to come through that way, but that's not the energy here with the issue. This is about shedding old skin, which is leaving behind the old and moving towards the new. So it's the fact that it's under issue is that there's going to be a problem here. So a lot of you guys are trying to move on, trying to move forward in July, and you are not taking 2 steps back. It's like not by, it's not exactly like that tango, you know, I think that's the tango. I think that's the dance, you know, you move for the, sorry guys, I'm not a dancer. I think you guys know what I mean. But basically, like I said, you know, trying to move forward and not being able to move forward. But I definitely do feel like it's about identity more so than taking action, if that makes sense. So we're not necessarily putting ourselves in our new identity versus our old identity. And we're not moving forward with that. And that's the issue, not necessarily like I said, you know, taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back and that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily feel like in progress, if that makes sense, but more so of maybe I could say internal progress. I hope I didn't confuse you guys more with that, but it definitely does feel like as far as identity goes, because the snake is always about shedding your old skin and becoming a new type of person. And you know, we're always reinventing ourselves. We're always renewing. That old skin essentially, but there is some issue here with that. I'll hopefully get more clarity of why we're having trouble kind of moving into that new identity, but that's what I'm getting so far here with the issue. All right, what are the surprises we have for July? No more surprises, please. No more surprises, but let's see. Facilitates spiritual commitment, serves as a channel of spiritual energy. Okay, I said this is positive. This is in the light priest. We've gotten this before. This is a surprise, meaning like being connected to our spirituality, lots of spiritual energy. There's really not too much I can say about this, but I definitely do feel like you feel more connected this month. And I think that's a surprise to you guys because, well, first of all, if it's a surprise, it means that we're kind of feeling disconnected. And I'm the first person to say that I feel a little disconnected. I have been sleeping a lot later, which is actually a positive thing for my physical health. But it's kind of like thrown me off because I used to have like this 4-hour routine in the morning of, you know, my spiritual practices, which has to be cut down, obviously, if I'm waking up later. So, good for my brain health, good for my sleep, but maybe not so great for my spiritual practices. But it feels like, you know, and this is resonating with me, that we're kind of going to get back to that place of, you know, being devoted, having that devotion to something. And by the way, it doesn't have to be 4 hours of spiritual practice. I'm just crazy. I'm just crazy and going through a really big health healing journey. So that's why mine is that long. So, but I do feel better when I connect to it. So whatever you guys connect to, it feels like you're reconnecting to that. Okay. Let's see. Challenges, moon cycles. Notice how the moon affects your energy and manifestations and capitalize upon those cycles. Okay. We have Archangel Haniel coming through. More angelic energy. Okay. So the challenge for me feels like, not listening to our intuition. So that's very interesting with the clairaudience coming through. It came through very strongly, like I said, but it can manifest both, you know, 2 different ways, talking about our intuitive gifts, but also talking about the active listening on the outside, you know, more of a humanity type level, more of our 5 physical senses kind of thing. But I do feel that we might have a challenge with, listening to our intuition. Okay, so even though we need it, we might have a challenge with it, you see, because moon cycles to me just means an intuitive way of doing things, and that's what I'm kind of getting there. So I will say this, because of the action needed, and it's the thinker, and basically that's telling me to think, like I mentioned, like thinking about our decisions before putting action towards them. If we do have a strong intuitive hit or an intuitive pull, I still feel like impulsive decisions are not necessarily aligned. Okay, so I will say that. So maybe it might take a couple of days or some time or some moments to really figure out Okay, I maybe to trust the intuition, but it's not. I will say this: I don't feel like it's necessarily giving us a green light to make hasty or impulsive decisions just because our intuition is telling us to. So that might seem a little confusing because, again, it's coming under challenge and saying, hey, you're not listening to your intuition, but that doesn't necessarily mean Spirit is saying, like, hey, you're not listening to it fast enough. I hope that makes sense. So definitely take your time and to connect to that and start to trust that and feel into that. But I do feel like it will be a challenge this month. But I will say this, it doesn't feel like a huge challenge. So that's really good. So that's the positive, right? So just watch out for that and see how it manifests for you, okay? Focus. We have the fates. Okay, so the fates to me is about, don't love this word, but like destiny, or it's meant to happen, or everything's intended to happen the way that it's supposed to happen, essentially. So that's really the focus. So the focus is more about, I know the last week lead that I did bled into July, obviously, up to the 2nd. And I was definitely getting a lot of like flow and alignment type energy, and even the week before. So this is still kind of the same. So this is kind of saying like, everything is perfect and you'll learn the lesson. You'll, whatever is meant to be will be. And I feel like you guys really need to hear that. So I definitely feel like I almost want to say the word distracting type energy, or frantic type energy that's kind of trying to come through here. But this focus card is saying like, no, you have to really cut out the frantic type energy, like almost like the neurotic type energy. I know it's like kind of like a very specific type word, but I definitely do feel like a lot of you guys are going to be battling that. And so to me, the opposite of that is just like letting things flow. So definitely focus more on that. And if you guys out there in the collective feel like you do, when you're not into your spiritual practices, for example, you do fall more on the neurotic side, it's really important that you connect to the spirit, your spiritual practices, and you connect back to spirituality, whatever that happens to be for you, and focus more on the let it be type vibe, okay? Because we really need it, and that's really what we should be focusing on, because everything that is intended to happen will happen. So the other thing that I will say here is that if you feel like you're not doing enough, or you feel like a door has closed, or you feel like defeated in any way, shape, or form, which I feel like which is why that frantic energy feels like it's coming through, you really have to let it go, because whatever will be, okay? So I feel like a lot of you guys need to hear that. So however that manifests for you guys, it manifests for you guys. I'd love to hear it, okay? That's what I didn't say in the beginning. Comments below, okay? However that manifests for you, I'd love to hear it, okay? Because I'd love to see how it comes to fruition. Okay, so we have reflect, Father Sky, trust in the unknown. Okay, so this is about trusting in what you don't know, and makes sense. Okay, so these two next to each other, this is about reflecting on what you don't know will happen. So again, this frantic energy, this neurotic energy that's kind of attached to this is kind of saying the same thing, where it's like you got to kind of let go and trust that you don't have everything planned. So with this being said, I'm getting this feeling of maybe plans falling through in July, things not going as planned, something like that. But again, you have to lean on the fates. You have to focus there and realize that everything is perfect and everything is happening exactly how it's intended to happen, okay? I know that's big. I know that's broad. But guys, we'll get more clarity as we go on. But I really, really do feel like you guys need to hear that, okay? All right, responsibilities. We have Queen, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. Okay, awesome, guys. So responsibilities is to you. And to your feminine energy and taking care of yourself, right? And that's it. There's not too much to say here. So we actually got because I remember this because I put it in the title because it came through pretty strongly. As far as like the responsibilities go, we would have to kind of like take care of somebody like younger than us, or somebody that needs our support. A lot of like childlike energy kind of came up. So if you were a parent, it seemed like a heavy week for you guys. Feels like things are changing for July with that. So definitely a lot more focus on yourself, which is great. And guys, feminine energy, I don't know how many times I have to remind you guys, but I'll say it every single time. Don't come for me. Feminine and masculine energy are within each person, regardless of sex or gender, okay? So feminine energy within us is the energy that I'm feeling in this row here, which is basically letting things flow, letting things get into alignment, the being of it all, right? And so it's about taking care of that. So that's your only responsibility this month, it feels like. Obviously pay your bills, obviously do what you need to do, but it's not anything that's popping out to me here that says like, okay, this is your main priority, because your main priority is your responsibility to you and taking care of yourself and your feminine energy and your being and all of that stuff, okay? All right, guys, let's see what money and finances have to say. Trader, exchange energy to create abundance. I love this card because this is always about resourcefulness and about how do you get something that you want by trading something that you have. And so this is money, finances, and career. I put it all in the same category here. So it definitely does feel like, first of all, abundance, love that word, obviously. Abundance is always available to us, but it definitely feels like the energy is supported in the way of creating abundance without actually having to spend much, okay? Because, so if you're trying to get ahead in some type of way, so the example that comes to my mind is like, if you want to take a class so you can get ahead at work or something like that, maybe get like a certification. I don't know. You know, I know everybody comes to me in all walks of life, all different careers. There's like the spirit is like pretty much saying like there's a way that you can get to that without actually necessarily spending the money because you have the resources elsewhere, whether that's skills, whether you have something that they want, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So it definitely does feel like there's a lot of resourcefulness when it comes to anything pertaining to money, finances, and career. So that was a career example. Another money thing could be maybe this month you pay your rent by selling things that you already have, or trading in I've never leased a car, but this is coming to mind, like you're trading in your leased car and you get more money. Do you get more money back? Am I talking about financing a car? Okay, bad example. Maybe I'll go with the garage sale. You decide to have a garage sale. People give you, obviously they do exchange money for that. They give you money for that, but you don't have to do anything extra, right? Like it's not like you have to pay the money out because you have the money already, like it was already like sitting in your house. Like the money was already sitting in your house, if that makes sense. So it feels like there's no need to try to gain extra money to put more money out there, if that makes sense. Guys, let me know if I'm confusing you too in the comments below. Sometimes this is really hard to kind of explain the energy that I'm getting, but, and sometimes my analogies and my examples make it worse, but I definitely do feel like we're not gonna have to put out any extra money, like worrying about finding that extra money for that thing that you wanna do that will accelerate you and help you bring in more abundance. You don't necessarily have to do, you have the resources to figure that out right now. That's a better way of actually saying it. And so hopefully that did make sense. So looks really good for finances, money, and career. Change, what's changing? Okay, vampire, depleting others for your psychic survival, chronic complaining and codependency. Great, and it's in the shadow, so you know what this means. This means that we're changing our environment. We're coming up to the friends and the romantic connection. So remember we had that active listening up there with the clairaudience that was coming through really clearly, so I'm excited to see what's down here. But this tells me that we're changing out the people around us already, okay? So we didn't even get to the friend slot. This is already saying that's what the change is this month. So we're definitely changing our environment as far as the people that we hang around with, because the energy vampires are kind of, you know, moving away, going to the wayside, okay? So we're definitely going to be spending time with people that are more energy suppliers than energy drainers. That's like a good way to put it. So any opportunity you have to be around people like that, and I will say this, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's like a super social month. This feels like tapping into the resources that you already have, kind of like coming off of this energy here. So it doesn't necessarily, yeah, you know, make new friends, you know, that kind of thing. Go to a barbecue if you don't know somebody, you know, and somebody invites you, totally go. But it definitely does feel like maybe more so reconnecting with people in your life, or being redirected more to those people, like that kind of thing. Doesn't necessarily mean like, because I would get more so like, you know, connecting with a new tribe or something like that. But it definitely does feel like it's just like a clearing out, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's do friends because I'm super curious. Moon, take note of intuitive messages. Okay, so we've got 2 moon cards here from 2 different decks. Okay, so this again, to me, is always about intuition. So definitely a big month of listening, reconnecting to your higher power, reconnecting to your spiritual self, which in my opinion is really reconnecting to your intuition, because that's the communication of the soul, right? That's the language of the soul. That's how I explain it. So this to me is more so doing that, but when it comes to our friend group. So that makes sense that we're having that change kind of going on, and so the energy vampires are kind of like moving to the wayside, because we're using our intuition more to follow the people that make us feel good, or the people that feel more aligned for us, that feel good to our soul in that type of way. So I definitely do feel like it's a positive thing. And then referring to this, the active listening. So a lot of these people are going to be, and so this actually, it makes sense, because the energy vampires, the complainers, the people that always think negatively, the people that always think about themselves, like those, the people that are the energy drainers. We, you know, especially if you've come here and you resonate as an empath, you do want to hold space for people, but these people just drain your energy. So you're switching it out for people that give you energy. So you have no problem giving it back. Okay. You have no problem actively listening. You have no problem doing that. And so that makes sense. Okay. Because I definitely do feel like you'll have to kind of, I don't want to say discern, because intuition is coming up so much. You'll know, you'll feel it. You'll just know, you'll hear it. You'll know which people need your support and your active listening skills the most, okay? And you'll gravitate towards them. So people will need you this month, but not in a way that feels draining. Like, that's the best way I can kind of say it. So lending your ear to somebody, and then them reciprocating, right? So if you need somebody to listen to you and hold space for you and that kind of thing, it's going to be mutual, because this person is not a taker, they're also a giver as well. So there's an even give and take, which is really great. That's the balance of the masculine and the feminine, which is amazing. But I definitely do feel like there's this shift in your friends group, and that feels dominant. And by the way, friends could mean family too, could mean coworkers, could mean classmates if you're in school. So basically I'm trying to say like the people around you, but I definitely do feel a shift for you guys in July. So if you've been waiting for that, it's definitely here. Okay, romantic connection. What do we got going on? We have Messiah, serving humanity with humility. Okay, so this definitely does feels good for romantic connections. Serving humanity with humility. Humility is always a really positive thing. Sometimes I feel like humility is the antidote of our egos, right? So it's like the kryptonite, right? Just fixing these up here. So it feels like a very, it's hard to kind of explain humility. Is humbleness a word? This humbleness within your relationship, that you feel very grateful, like a lot of gratitude within the relationship. So it definitely feels like a good month for people that are coupled up, where you'll feel a certain level of more so of intimacy and connectedness and gratitude and humility and all that good stuff. And I definitely do feel like in some way, shape, or form, if you're single and out there dating, it definitely does feel like a more humbling time. So I always say this, the universe has jokes. So I will throw that out there, that term out there, because it almost feels like, not like spirit is going to be teaching us a lesson, but there have been many times in my life where I've eaten humble pie, and we should all eat humble pie every once in a while. And so what I mean by that is, removing the ego or putting the ego in check. And so I definitely do feel like a lot of you guys will definitely get that, especially, I will say, I'm getting a feeling for people that are dating, but definitely within a relationship, because the more ego we have within, by the way, overextension of the ego. Okay, ego is healthy. We have to have one as human beings. It's not a quote unquote bad thing, but when we rule with it, when we make it our master, I sometimes call it the overextension of the ego, then that's when we have to eat the humble pie. So hopefully that makes sense. But really, it's not again, it's not a bad thing, but it's a humility thing, basically. Okay, so what's important? What do we need to know? I mean, all this stuff is important, but what do we have from here? Hello from heaven. Your loved ones in heaven are doing fine and let go of worries and feel their loving blessings. Yeah, we've gotten this card before recently. So this is really about being guided by our ancestors, being guided by our past loved ones. So some of you guys out there are potentially, obviously that's the one thing all humans have in common, right? Is we've all had somebody close to us pass. Death is just part of the human experience, that kind of thing. And so most of you guys, if not all, have had somebody close to you, in the last few years pass. And so I think most of you guys need to hear this message, is that they are with you. And I think it's important to know. So it's very interesting that it's actually coming up when it doesn't feel like, so far, we're almost done with the reading. It doesn't feel like anything huge is happening, like any huge change is happening. We do have that change of, changing our friends group and that kind of thing, and the people we surround ourselves with. But sometimes this does come through when we have to make like a big decision, or, we're having like a big, massive change. But it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like maybe just, we're missing them. Maybe it's the time of year. I know there's a holiday in July as well, in the beginning of July. So there could be like a few different things that, people miss people around the holidays, that kind of thing. But for whatever reason, you guys really do need to hear this. And so our loved ones are always with us. We always have access to them in the heart. And you can connect with them at any point. But I think it's important to connect this month. I think it's coming up for a reason, obviously. Health and wellness, what do we got going on? Okay, so yin, we have more feminine energy, just like what did I say, guys? Responsibilities, taking care of yourself in a feminine, especially your feminine energy in your being, and taking care of yourself, that kind of thing. So this is the yin. Yin is the other half of yang, which is the feminine energy versus the masculine energy. And so this is saying we need to take care of ourselves, again, in that feminine type energy. This could also mean a bunch of different things, guys. If you feel like you've been overly in your masculine the last couple of months, then it feels like a switch here where Spirit is saying, okay, now it's time to take care of the feminine, okay? This could look so many different ways, and because gender is so all over the place these days, I'm not even gonna try to give an example, but it's whatever feels more feminine to you. And again, I'm even talking to you straight males, because again, this is nothing to do with, and that's why, okay, maybe I'll start using the yin and the yang, but I think you guys really understand what I mean. Use that yin energy, people. That's basically what it's saying, and it's saying that it for your wellness, right? So really keep that in mind for the rest of the month, okay? For the whole month. I hope you guys understand what I mean. Okay, and then what do we have? Overall outcome. We have protection, guardian, drop your shields. Okay, so overall, usually the first and the last kind of tell me a story. And so this one is talking about drop your shield. So this one is about putting down your walls. And it's kind of like this safety that I'm feeling of like letting down like maybe some boundaries. So so guys, obviously uphold any boundaries that you feel are necessary, but sometimes when we're starting to learn our boundaries or something has happened, we really get strict with them. And then over time, when we heal ourselves more, or we're at a different place in life for whatever reason, we can start kind of like letting them down and being a little bit more open. And that's kind of what Spirit is saying this month. So it's definitely going to feel like we're dropping our shields a little bit. So this could also mean a level of vulnerability and intimacy that maybe we haven't been able to experience before. Makes sense, right? Because humility does come, pointing to this romantic connection here within our romantic partners. Part of humility is really being vulnerable, so that makes sense to me. And then also we're kind of shedding from the energy vampires, so we're able to kind of, maybe our walls and our boundaries were up so high and so tight is because we kept having people that kept violating us and violating them. And so now that we're in a place where we're surrounding ourselves with people that, again, support our energy and uplift us, and are a little bit more, that term high vibe, that we're able to kind of like let go a little bit. And so that's great, right? Because that letting go is part of this too. Okay, so don't forget this role basically is really moving more into that feminine yin energy, and letting things flow, and understanding that everything is working out exactly how it's intended to work out. And again, let's not forget the overshadowing of these moon cards here of this intuition. Okay, so this is also part of the feminine energy as well. So okay, so that's it, guys. So everything looks pretty good. I don't know why I want to say this, but like, there's not too much to worry about. Look, guys, I know we're all dealing with all of these crazy things in our lives, but like, I really feel like Spirit is coming through with a lot of these cards, especially when I see the Fates. This isn't the first time I've seen the Fates, and these, you know, these guys, there's a lot of cards here. So when I have repeats, I pay attention. And so when the Fates come through, that is really the universe trying to say, look, you have to understand, like, everything is working out the way it's intended to. Like, there's nothing that you can do to kind of mess things up, right? Sometimes I get people asking me, well, how do I not mess things up? And it's kind of like, this card is for you. This card is saying, like, you really can't. Like, whatever is meant to be is meant to be, and it'll just happen that way. And no matter, you know, what you say, what you do, that kind of thing. So, which is interesting, guys, because it's hard to explain, and I won't get into it because I know this video is already kind of long, but you know, our decisions are important. Okay, so remember that action needed. Before any decisions, we really kind of need to think about it. So our decisions are important, and they can put us on a different path in life, but Spirit is kind of saying the energy of it is always meant to be. You know, if it's destined to be, it'll be. Right? And usually things that are our soul desires, that they're destined to be, basically. So an example, I know I said I wasn't going to go into this, but an example would be, if there's a lesson in this life that you are meant to learn, you will learn it one way or the other, whether you go down this path or you go down the other path. That is still part of the Fates. Okay, that's what they're talking about here. So you can't worry about it. I'm going to learn it no matter what. So that's why when people say to me, oh my gosh, if I would have done this differently, if I could have done, you couldn't. First of all, you can't, you couldn't. What's done is done. You know, it's in the past. But, you know, I could almost bet you, you know, it was part of the Fates. It was part of what you were meant to kind of go through. And I know that can be dark in some, you know, instances and that kind of thing. Trust me, I know. I think you guys just really, really, you know, need to hear that for this month, especially if you have been kind of going through it, and especially if that neurotic type energy, that frantic type energy starts coming to the surface for us, and I do feel like it will for a lot of us. It's just important to know and to really embody. Embody is a good word. Okay, guys, that's it. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful month. I'll see you in the weeklies, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and put comments down below if it resonates, doesn't resonate, any questions, comments, and feedback. I always say feedback. Just be kind. All right, guys, have a good month. All right, bye.